Tonight I'm going to be doing the Wisconsin and Southern logo, and as I often say with logos and lettering, one of the more important things is, like in the case of the Wisconsin Southern logo, there's a W and an S, and then there's the Canada goose coming out of the top. One, look at your reference photo of the logo, and two, kind of block out where the logo goes, the shape of it, before you just start drawing it. Like here, like there's the W, where the W would go. I should probably make it a little darker just so you can see it. There's where the W would go. Then the S kind of goes like this. And see, like by blocking it out, the one thing I can kind of see is that, and this takes years of seeing this kind of stuff. The CN logo is, for instance, very similar to this, where there's two letters right next to each other. And the thing you start to see in doing it again and again, that's why it's good to keep doing logos again and again, to keep practicing, is that W's are wider than S's. And so what can happen is that you start to put the W, and the W you just make being a W. Then you start doing the S, and all of a sudden you start to see that the W is narrower than the S. And I made the W then by erasing, which that's why it's good to do it very lightly in the beginning. Now the W's a little wider than the S, which is good. Then what you kind of want to do is, which you probably almost could have even done at the beginning, put a little tiny faint line at the bottom, and that's where it basically and then you basically go, then still kind of, I'm getting where I'm wanting to do detail, but you should probably even do this. And the S here comes over, and the S laps around, which this is all of a sudden starting to get a lot of the shape of the Wisconsin Southern logo, which, but then like one thing I can, which actually I can kind of see this, is that because the S slants, the W has a little bit of slant. It's harder to see the slant in the W a little bit because W's are kind of slanted, but some letters it's harder to see slants than others. Like A's, it's hard to see a slant. What you'll see is one leg of an A will be straight, and then the other leg of the A has just a little bit more slant than it usually has, and W's are very much the same way. So there, that's kind of the rough. So now we just want to tighten this up. And as I've said before, this is where you'll use this circle template a little bit. And see why it's nice to use a circle template is this one right here is like, it says it's 9/16. But what's good about this is that you should use the same one there that you use here, whatever size it is that you use, because that way the S gets a very regular shape to it. And then you should even use some of the, so you're not totally using the circle necessarily, but using some of the curve of it. Because see, as much as you can use curves, it's a good idea to use curves, because doing curves freehand is not, they kind of get a rough look when you do curves freehand. Here, I'll kind of pull away a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on. Probably been okay, so we're starting to pretty much have the WS. You can kind of see that because I sort of did the rough drafting it out. Here, I'll erase that. That's sort of what the WS of the Wisconsin Southern looks like. And then here, we sort of start to put the bird in. I can probably put the base of the bird right there because it goes there. But the bird, you again should basically sketch out the same way. The bird has, again, quite a bit of a slope to it. And the bird's really about the same height as the letter. So you might measure the letter if you want. This is about 1.25 inches the way I did it. So 1.25 inches would go to about there. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, but you know, just eyeballing it, it's about the same. I mean, but you could have just, through years of looking at it. Then a Canada goose kind of has a very gentle beak. It kind of winds down. And there's a little bit of a curve, but trust me, that little bit of a curve at times, I probably even made it too much of a curve. And then the wing comes out. And see, the wing probably goes to almost the end. Again, you should mark that stuff versus just drawing it. And I was actually very lucky. I got to meet and say hello to Don Pingle at the Wisconsin Southern shops. And I was very, very fortunate to meet him, and he gave me a tour, and showed me told me about Wisconsin Southern's operations, and he's a very nice man. And he ended up he went to work for the passenger service. And he and I have seen each other every now and then and keep in touch. And again, I always mention that you should start your pen. I'll just start over in the corner here. using the curves around the curves. And using these. Whoops, that's probably a little too much curve. See, the curves are actually very helpful. But yeah, Don Pingle went to work for Iowa Pacific. From Wisconsin Southern. He's a great, great railroader. I was very fortunate to meet him. As I've said, when you start to do your drawings, with the railroader's permission, show them your drawings. They'll let you know, as I said in a previous video. Now, often it's time to pause because I just finished going around all of this, and pause and just see if you missed any areas or not. But what I was saying is like for instance in a previous video, the workers at Sioux Line, they gave me permission to see where traction motors go on locomotives. And a lot of railroaders want to help you make your drawings better, which is really nice. Lots of railroaders I've met through the years are very encouraging. So let's now paint this. And as we always kind of do, we basically go along the lines. And of course, Watco now is the parent of Wisconsin Southern. And at the American Shortline Association, again, I've been very fortunate to meet several of the leaders of Watco. And again, they're all very encouraging about drawings too. So you'd be very surprised. Drawings start a conversation, especially a positive conversation about trains, about the freight they're hauling, the passengers they're hauling. always use your drawings to emphasize the good that railroads are doing. How railroads are safe and how they move the freight we need, and that railroads are very, very important. And with this, I could probably, it doesn't hurt. As I said, this is a bigger logo here. See, when you hold it up, you can see there's areas around it where you can touch it up. That's why it's always good to do a second coat. Like when you're painting a house or anything, second coat is always a good idea. Drawings are a good way to let workers know they're doing a good job. That's what I've always done with their permission. I've always given drawings to railroad workers, and basically with that, there's the Wisconsin Southern logo. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Andy Fletcher Trains if you'd like to see more train drawing demonstrations. And thanks, it was a lot of fun to draw the Wisconsin Southern logo with you.